Woman tries to drown 3-year-old Muslim child in the United States. This is absolute insanity. In a disturbing incident in a suburban Dallas, Texas area, 42-year-old Elizabeth Wolfe was arrested and charged with attempted capital murder and injury to a child after allegedly trying to drown a 3-year-old Muslim girl in an apartment complex pool. The attack, which occurred on May 19th, was reportedly accompanied by racist remarks directed at the child's hijab wearing mother. According to the police, Wolf made statements about the woman not being American and attempted to grab the victim's 6-year-old brother before forcibly submerging the young girl. The mother, identified only as Mrs. H, expressed her fear and distress, saying, "My daughter is traumatized. Whenever I open the apartment door, she runs away and hides, telling me she's afraid that the lady will come and submerge her head in water again." The Council of American-Islamic Relations, or CAIR for short, which is not an organization we are a fan of, as a side note, has called for the incident to be investigated as a hate crime, while local authorities have requested prosecutors to treat it as such. The case has sparked outrage and concern about anti Muslim bigotry and racism in the community, with the Texas Representative Salman Bhojani condemning the attack and emphasizing that hate has no place in, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, Euless, District 92, or anywhere else in our great state. Okay, so let me
Wait,
provide a little bit more. Go
before
ahead.
you say that, there's a misunderstanding in the live chats. Somebody's saying, Armin, in what world is this uplifting? I said about the next news. I said, bear with us. That's the next news. I wasn't saying, I just want to clarify, this is not the one I was referring to as uplifting. I said we have 5 news, the 5th one. This is the 4th news today. Okay, go on.
As in the next news after this news. As in the
Yes.
last news. Yikes. Okay, that's an important clarification. Whoops. So here's what I know about this case. So this piece of shit was reportedly drunk and at a pool at the apartment complex. And there was this mother, and she was dressed modestly. She was wearing the hijab. I don't know if she was in like a modest bathing suit or something, but she was at this pool with her children. And this drunk piece of shit comes up and starts harassing her. There were some reports saying that she tries to remove this woman's hijab. She starts demanding to know where she's from. I don't know if it was disclosed, but the ethnic background of this family is that they're Palestinian. And so I don't know if the mother actually gave that explanation or anything, but this woman was spewing obscenities, and then she tries to attack the 6-year-old boy. The mother goes to try to protect the 6-year-old boy. When the mother is distracted trying to deal with that situation with one child, the woman goes and attacks the 3-year-old little girl and attempts to drown her by
Why?
submerging her head underwater.
Why?
I I mean, there is no, who knows why? Why? How do you answer that question? How do you even answer that question?
Is
I don't
she
even know how to begin to answer
mentally
that question. There
is
is
this mental disorder? We don't know yet though.
She was reportedly intoxicated. That doesn't explain this in any way, shape, or form. Um,
Okay, so we don't know. We don't know what the hell's wrong with this woman.
but sometimes I feel like we make the mistake of assuming rationality. I don't
No,
think
we
there
don't.
is a
I didn't assume
rationality.
anything. I'm saying we can't assume anything. This, yeah, I mean, yeah. So she might be insane. That's why I'm not assuming. When I say that she might be insane, that means I'm not assuming rationality.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think it's really important to highlight these issues because the level of bigotry that exists around the world towards other people and to take that out on a child is absolute insanity to me.
Okay, but here's the thing. I think I disagree with two parts of our live chat. Some people are saying this woman is like it's hatred towards Muslims, and some people are saying this do not happen. Like look at Chuck Norris is saying, I don't believe that anything of this sort happened. And Sassy Girl is also, I want to hear more of the story. Something doesn't seem right. And then also Chuck Norris is saying, I don't believe it for a second. Like, you guys think that people don't attack? Like, if you hear about a news that a Muslim is being attacked, you think that doesn't happen? You think like, why is that? Like, do you think that only Muslims attack people? You don't think it doesn't happen the other way around at all? Like, you guys are basically doing the same thing that many Muslims do, that they want to be the victim always, and they don't believe at all. Like, are you going to be against any story that suggests that sometimes Muslims are attacked? You know, anti-Muslim hate is actually a real thing. I don't. Islamophobia is a lie. There's no such thing as Islamophobia. We're extremely anti-Islamic. But there is this thing called anti-Muslim hate. I mean, this might not be it. This woman might be insane, and she might have done that to any other child. We don't know. It might be
Well,
because
given the
of
nature of her
hatred towards Muslims.
harassment of the woman beforehand would seem to be
Right,
on the basis of the woman's presenting as visibly Muslim and being foreign, and
right,
what was reported to her abuse beforehand. I don't think this would have happened to just any other person that didn't fit those criteria. Let's be honest. I mean, come on.
right. Okay, so let's categorize how we think about this, or how I think about this. Okay, so we have Islam, we have Muslims, we have hate crimes, and we have mental case issues, right? Being anti-Islam, absolutely correct, perfectly fine. You should be, any sane person would be against Islam. Attacking Muslims and demonizing all Muslims, unless there's a Muslim who is attacking you, right? Wrong, and anti-Muslim hatred is a real thing, and it should be condemned and fought against. In fact, one reason why we're against Islam is because we care for Muslims. We're not anti-Muslim. We're anti-Islam because Islam harms everyone, including Muslims, right? So we're not anti-Muslim, we're anti-Islam, right? And anti-Muslim hatred is a real thing, that it does exist in society, and it should be fought against. So this is the second category. Third categorization. Every time this, like, let's look at this case and categorize it in two different possibilities. This woman could have done this because she hates Muslims. What should be our position right now? Our position should be, we don't know. Okay, second category is that this woman could be doing this because she is mentally ill. Maybe she attacked that children, not because it's a Muslim child, but because she just was hurting somebody. Again, is this a correct conclusion? We don't know. It's sometimes better for you to take the position of, I don't know, right? And here's what I would guess. If this is a mentally ill woman who attacked this child because she's mentally ill, not because this is an anti-Muslim attack, I assume many of these Muslims in the United States, or for example, the CAIR organization, are going to be like, oh my God, anti-Muslim hatred being ignored. So just be careful for for people not to do that to you. We recognize anti-Muslim hatred as a real thing that does exist. If we're skeptical about this case being anti-Muslim hatred, don't let people brand you as a bigot who recognizes hatred and attacks against other people, but not this one. We are evidence-based. So people might come and say like, oh, if this was a Jewish girl, you guys would be like, oh my God, anti-Semitic attack against a Jewish girl. No, if we see evidence, you remember we had just a news item about, a Jewish girl being RAPE'd. Susie, when she was mentioning this news, she was showing skepticism about which one of these news items, which one of these news sources are a credible news source. She wasn't sure about it. She said, I couldn't verify if this was a credible news source or not. She was skeptical. So we show skepticism there as well, right? But it seems for that case, there seems to have been enough evidence to show that this was an anti-Semitic attack. Many different credible news sources were saying, yes, this attack happened to that girl because it was revealed that she was Jewish. So we were more confident in saying that was anti-Jewish. Here we have nobody is reporting why this happened. We don't have, I mean, if they are, we haven't seen it. This could be because she's Muslim. It could be not because she's Muslim.
What are you talking? I'm sorry. I have to disagree. What are you talking about? There's plenty of reporting about why this happened. That they were racially and religiously abused before a physical altercation occurred. And that's clear.
Okay, so wait, what?
I don't hear believe that part. So sorry,
no, tell me that item. I'm saying, tell me what happened. There was a racial altercation before this happened. Sorry, I'll change my position.
According to the reports that I have read, before the physical attack occurred, she was verbally harassing and assaulting these people, filled with slurs and hatred, commenting on their religion and their ethnicity. So that's a reason to treat this with suspicion.
Okay, here's an opportunity for me to demonstrate how easily I will switch my position. Actually, okay, because when you were saying that, I was paying attention. This is actually good that I didn't hear that part, because now this is a good opportunity for me to show that I'm not married to a position, right? Because when you were reading that part, I was highlighting the comments, so I missed that part. So it's good that I missed that part, so I could demonstrate that with that information, I could go with like, okay, now my understanding of what happened makes it this being based on hatred toward because of the girl being Muslim a lot more credible. So I'm glad actually I didn't hear that part, because I show that as soon as you have the slightest amount of evidence that makes one position a little bit heavier, I would go with that.
Sorry, I'm about to sneeze. Oh my goodness. Thank you.
Now, does that make sense? Does that make sense?
It does. It makes complete sense. And here's the thing. I wanted to highlight this news for one reason. I want people to pay attention to the people who are treating this with more suspicion than they would for any other crime that occurred against anyone else. Can you say Armin is talking his way out of not listening?
No, let me respond to that. This is not fair. You have no idea how many things I'm doing at the same time when Susie's talking. Okay, this is not fair. I am trying to listen, read the news, and highlight your comments, read your comments all in real time. If I miss something, that is not fair for you to blame that on me. Okay, but anyways.
Oh my God. But what's so funny is that, like, I have no issue with the multitasking, and Armin does. And so it actually took me a very long time to cut Armin some slack, because he can't multitask as easily as me. So I used to be very hard on him.
Nobody could multitask. It's a myth. People lie when they say they're multitasking.
I know that in the technical sense. I'm using it colloquially, Armin. Come on. People know what I mean. Anyways.
Okay.
So basically, I want people to really pay attention to the people that cannot take this on for face value on the basis of the evidence available to us. If you're treating this with extreme suspicion because of the identities of the people involved, I want you to check yourself, or other people, I want you to pay attention to who is engaging in that behavior. We should be able to recognize that this is an abhorrent crime against a child, against an entire family, for completely bigoted in horrible reasons. There is no, and I think a mistake that kind of liberals make sometimes is to like actually assume rationality. Like we can't always assume complete rationality. Like, what is a motivation? Who says that there is no good motivation to do something like this, right? I also want to point
But
out, let me make a point really quickly, is that anyone who is oh my god, there are people in the live chat right now who are being straight up dumb. And their contention right now is that we described this child as Muslim in this news report. If that is your contention, you're being fucking stupid. Because let me be clear. Sure, a 3-year-old has no idea or no understanding about what Islam is and cannot be an informed believer and have bought into an ideology, yada, yada, yada. The point being that the motivation, as reported for this attack, was the nature of the family's religious identity. Whether or not a 3-year-old or a 6-year-old, the brother who was also attacked, is actually a practicing, believing Muslim is irrelevant to the fact that this is reportedly the reason why they were abused and attacked by the perpetrator. So it's totally appropriate to describe it as such. Don't be so freaking pedantic over something like this. It's stupid. Like, what's the point? So that just really pisses me off. Like that.
so
That's your
yeah,
concern.
so we're using language in the way most people use it, because the whole point of using words is to communicate. And when other people say like a 3-year-old Muslim, the understanding is that it's a 3-year-old inner Muslim family with those ideals being surrounded by those ideas. I mean, it's how people categorize them, and we're just using the same vocabulary that the rest of society uses, just so that we could, communicate. Or else, I mean, you don't have to. I mean, I understand why some people want to fight that battle and say that we shouldn't be using those words, but it's kind of pedantic to basically come. I mean, you have to pick your battles. Like, we're like, for example, using the word Islamophobia, we try to fight that one. But if we want to keep policing every word how it's used, then it's going to be hard to communicate about anything. Sometimes we just have to use the words the way that it's used mostly by society. But I have a slight disagreement with you regarding the motivation, because when we're asking for what the motivation was, that doesn't mean that it's claiming that there is a rational motivation for this. A motivation could be an irrational motivation. Like, for example, when I say, like, why did she do that, um, I'm not suggesting there's any reasonable reason for her to do that, but there's obviously a reason. It could be an irrational reason, but there's always a reason. There's always a reason. So looking for a reason or a motivation is not suggesting that if there's a rationality behind such an act. It's looking for an explanation, not a justification. Asking for explanations is not the same as asking for a justification. I think that's pretty clear, right?
Okay, you know what? Fair enough. Fair enough. People want to try to understand really horrific, unexplainable things like this. I can appreciate that. What I'm just trying to say is some things I don't think are understandable.
I mean,
Oh, thank you, Kenny, for the sweet comment in the super chat saying thanks for all your hard work, Armin and Susanna. Thank you. Thank you,
well,
Kenny.
thank you.
There's a lot of nonsense we need to fight on all sides.
Oh, we have a whole
And
bunch of other super chats, actually.
yeah, moral of the story is, guys, Muslims can be and are legitimately victimized around the world. We can't ignore that that's a fact. And people are pretending like it's all lies and bullshit. And that's just not true. And I want to call it out. I want to call it out. If you can't have
In fact,
sympathy for this child and treat it without suspicion,
yes.
I need you to look in the mirror.
Yeah, here's the thing. There are some people who are incapable of having sympathy for somebody who's a Muslim. And I want to say, even if you're one of those people, I mean, I don't know, you're a psychopath, but you're a monster. But even if your motivations are purely anti-Islamic and you don't care about Muslims at all or their well-being or anything like that, even from a strategic sense, to be properly anti-Islam, it doesn't make sense to be anti-Muslim, because Islam feeds upon the suffering and blood of Muslims. The more Muslims suffer, the more Muslims are killed or threatened or attacked, the faster Islam will grow. Islam uses Muslims, their misery and their suffering, it eats them to grow. So even if you just want to be purely anti-Islamic, it doesn't make sense for you to not be against Muslim suffering. Does that make sense?
It does. Chuck Norris, Gun Club, has lost the plot and is saying hate can be a motive, but what is the crime? Why not assault, battery, attempt, and homicide if the story is true? She has been charged with attempted capital murder. She has been charged with injury to a child. People are asking for her to be charged with a hate crime. She hasn't been yet. People are saying, based on the evidence available, this is clearly a hate crime. If you have a contention with what a hate crime is and is not in that category as a penalty under the law, that's a different matter. That's a different matter about if you even believe that a specific hate crime is a real thing. This woman is being charged with attempted capital murder. So if the story is true.
Wait, would this person be like Chuck Norris? Would you be as skeptical about this story being true if this was a Muslim woman trying to drown a Jewish 3-year-old? Like, would you
I doubt
honestly,
he would
can you
be so
ask yourself if it
suspicious.
was the exact same news item, but we just announced that this was a Muslim woman trying to drown a 3-year-old? Like, would you be this skeptical? Or because you seem like extremely biased when it comes to, yeah, anyways.
Oh my god. And just as a quick comment, Daniel Spivak is saying, has there been an increase in anti-Muslim attacks since October 7th, or is that
Yes,
bullshit like Islamophobia? Yes,
no,
across the world, in
both,
many countries, there has been a spike in anti-Muslim actions and anti-Arab incidents at large.
both.
Yes, there has. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head.
I remember the numbers for both anti-Muslim attacks and anti-Jewish attacks both increased. If I remember correctly, anti-Muslim attacks increased by 3 times the amount it used to be, and anti-Jewish attacks increased by 14 times. I don't know if these were the actual
Where?
numbers, but I remember the anti-Jewish attacks peaked more. But both of them increased. Both anti-Muslim attacks and anti-Jewish attacks both increased after October 7th.
Yeah. And it varies from country to country, but
Yeah.
those trends I've seen across several countries. Okay, so let's go to the super chats. John Bundeck's a super chat saying, in a jungle full of totalitarian monsters, liberal democracy needs teeth. Robert Conquest. That's a sick quote. I
Oh,
think y'all
that
would
is an
like him.
amazing
No to
quote.
parochialism, rage, and hate. Let me look this up really quick.
Oh my God, that's the most beautiful quote I've ever heard in my life. I think I was going to describe my
Ooh.
excitement in a way that is not YouTube friendly.
British American historian and poet. Let's see what he has on Amazon. I might add a few of these to my wish
That
list.
is such a powerful. Okay,
Ooh.
I'm gonna get that tattooed. I'm
That's going on my wall.
yeah.
Okay, so next super chat is from Gasian American saying, hate the belief, love the believer. I understand the sentiment, but that's just too similar to hate the sin, love the sinner. And I hate that mentality so much.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. Okay, so here's the thing. Here's how I would improve it. Okay, hate the belief. Don't hate the believer, because you cannot demand for me to love an entire group of people. This is what I never understand from Christianity. Okay, love is something special, unique, and specific for a few individuals in your life. If you here's what I would claim. Okay, if you love everybody, or if you love millions of people, then you have devalued love, and I would say that you don't love anybody. If you think anybody is capable of loving millions of people, then you don't know what love is. Okay, you don't understand. So when Christians say, oh, love everybody, love your enemy, I don't think they understand the meaning of love. Love is so special and unique that you're incapable of loving more than a few number of peoples in your life. Okay, so do not love the believer, care for the believer, maybe, or don't hate the believer. Hate the belief, don't hate the believer is as far as I would go. Yeah. Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do! And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.